Hey, happy Friday. It is March 13th and the end of week 9 down at the Gold Dome this week for Georgia's 2026 legislative session. I am Don Cook, Vice President of Legislative Affairs for the Georgia Society of CPAs. I am your lobbyist, here to report on what happened during week 9. And actually, I'm going to go back because it's been a couple weeks since I've done this, so I'm going to talk about week 8 too, so it's a bonus session. So week 8 obviously ended with crossover day on Friday, March 6th. That was last week. There was a lot of conversations around, obviously quite a few bills that were discussed and debated throughout the week. Quick highlight on some tax bills. Obviously, we've been watching the property tax bill closely in the House to see where that winds up going. That is that property tax elimination bill. And it did get some traction. Of course, the resolution, which needed 2/3 vote, was heard in the House. Getting 2/3 vote is very difficult to do when you have a bill that is seen as relatively political, and this one went down party lines, and getting that 2/3 vote did not happen. So the resolution failed, but the bill did continue through. It was not quite the bill that the House started with, and certainly not that elimination that they were looking for, but there is a property tax bill that has made it out of crossover day, and so we'll live to fight another day this session. So we'll see what happens with that one, and we'll continue monitoring that. That's House Bill 1116. On the Senate side, as far as tax goes, that income tax elimination bill did not get a lot of traction last week during that crossover week. It had, at that point, it already passed out of the Senate, so it didn't need to pass anywhere on crossover, but it continues to not get a lot of traction in the House. I think just from a policy perspective, that's not a direction they're looking at going in. At least it seems that way from the outside looking in. Additionally, there was some movement on that Senate income tax elimination bill. I know there's a House bill in the Senate that all the language had been stripped out, and that income tax elimination language was put in. I think they're hoping that because that was a House bill, that may help the bill, see some added traction if they pass it out of the Senate and get it over the House. I'm not 100% sure what they're thinking with that one, but we will see as the weeks go on. And then outside of that, I mean, crossover, again, a lot of bills went back and forth, licensing related bills, thankfully not a lot of them. None of them had a big impact on the CPA profession, and we'll continue to digest all those bills as they make movements going forward. I know the one bill that a lot of CPAs are waiting to hear about is that IRC update, that conformity bill. That's House Bill 1199. And so House Bill 1199 certainly had a lot of movement this week. It had already progressed out of the House into the Senate before crossover. And then it had kind of hit a little bit of a pause button, made it out of Senate Finance, relatively whole, and then hit Senate Rules Committee, where it was put in a standing Rules Committee where some additions were made. So the differences right now between the House version and the Senate version are pretty simple. So the House version has conforming language to the low-income housing tax credit in their bill. They are not conforming to tips and overtime. Whereas the Senate version does not have conforming language to the low-income housing tax credit. However, they are conforming to tips and overtime. So right now, that's where the big debate's going to lie. The Senate did pass their version out this week. It happened on Thursday of this week, so yesterday. And it was a vote of 31-18. It was right down party lines. There was a lot of debate on the Senate floor. Senate Democrats really do want that low-income housing tax credit in there. And I think ideally they would like both pieces, tips and overtime, in there, as well as that version or that conforming issue around the low-income housing tax credit. So a lot of debate, like I said, happened and will continue to happen. So like I said initially, it's a substitute bill. Because it's a substitute bill, it's going to have to go back to the House, and then the House is going to have some options. They're going to either agree to it, which is not likely going to happen, or they're going to disagree to it with an amendment, or they're going to straight out disagree to it, which will likely send it to a conference committee. If it goes to a conference committee, we're just not sure when that conference committee is going to meet. And obviously the conference committee meetings are not public, so it's going to be kind of hard to tell what the conversations are going to be until it comes out. So Going forward, I don't have a lot of information on timing. I can tell you that next Tuesday, they're going to actually have that agree-disagree, so I'll know if it's a disagree with an amendment or a disagree going to conference. So we should know more next week, but just not a lot yet on the timing. I do want to make sure that I point out on the conformity side that right now it looks like Georgia is not conforming to the salt cap limit that was set federally through the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. So again, through the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, federally the salt cap is at 40,000. Georgia's salt cap is at 10,000. And just to reiterate, it is not in our conformity bill that is out there. So as of right now, there is no language in there that will conform Georgia to the feds on that salt cap limit. So I wanted to make sure I said that very clearly and plainly. With that, I mean, again, I will keep you posted on all the other bills that are out there. There's AI bills, licensure bills, tax bills. It is a busy legislative session. I will keep my eye on the ball and keep you apprised on everything as it unfolds. But thanks again for tuning in to Don on the Dome. Really appreciate you watching this. And please don't hesitate to reach out. My cell number is 404-877-2154 should anybody have any questions. Thank you.